goodness, these pansies are still trucking along. These were seed-grown varieties that I grew up in my polytunnel. Maybe that makes them tougher to have grown right here on the property. But I have them mixed in with some geranium cuttings. And I'm only seeing a couple of geranium blooms in the middle. But right now they're kind of protecting my geraniums because we are in a heat wave. Today's going to be 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So we got out early and did some watering. But I wanted to show you the polytunnel beds because there's a lot going on in there. So here's one note. All of my hostas are doing poorly already. We're not even out of June. But we used to have a big pine tree here and it offered some shade, and I think all the hostas in this area are really going to suffer and probably die back. But in the meantime, I had planted some elephant ears, which are full sun tropical plants, and I think little by little I'm going to be replacing these hostas with sun-loving plants. And you can see behind the Adirondack chairs here, they're getting very yellow. It's just too much sun. They've gotten plenty of water this early summer with the rain, but it is just too much sun for these guys. On my way up the hill, I keep getting distracted. These are from my mom's garden. She had a townhouse many years ago, and I actually think she took these daylilies from my childhood home. She dug some up when she moved to her townhome. And now I still have them in my garden. It's just remarkable when you can perpetuate plants for that long. There are my dahlias up at the top of the hill. Let's go take a closer look at what's blooming in the polytunnel area. I kind of like this combination of the Dusty Miller blooms in yellow and the geraniums. These are some geraniums that I overwintered in the box, the dark red ones, but they look great with the yellow blooms. So let's come over here and I'll show you my dahlias. Now, these are my most prolific ones. They're really gorgeous. And I'm not sure what these were called. I almost think these were supposed to be pom-pom dahlias. I'm not sure, but aren't they gorgeous? So I may try to save some seed and see what grows from it. I'll certainly try to save the tuber. That doesn't always go well, but you can give it a try. But that is a riot of orange, and underneath, I think this is red Reuben basil. Although it looks purple. Might be purple opal. Don't hold me to it. And then I have little pots of lavender down on the ground. And I have some beautiful cosmos flowers. I think they're so pretty. I think they're the Sunshine Cosmos variety. But they're a different orange from this corally orange of the dahlia up here. Isn't that beautiful? So this is just kind of a messy cottage garden of a bed mixed with some vegetables, and a couple things got cut back. I did put a very thick layer of leaves in here so that it could withstand the summer heat. Hopefully that's helping, that leaf mulch. And the bachelor buttons did a good job. I thought they were kind of late to the party, but now they're going over. So they'll be taken out soon, but they have that beautiful purpley blue. And I do have some birdhouse gourds planted. I can't say they look terribly fabulous. Sometimes gourds are a little bit later, but look, that looks like if it got pollinated, maybe it will be a birdhouse gourd. We'll see. It all depends on whether female flowers are blooming at the same time as the male flowers. So we'll see if that yields anything at the end of the season. But I do have some lovely eggplants. Now I can't bend to show you, but let me try to zoom in. These are the white night eggplants, and there's one right there, and I have a tiny one growing on this plant. Oh, I have a very big one over here. Let me see if I can get that. There it is. They're beautiful. They're smaller size eggplants, kind of long and cylindrical, and they're absolutely delicious when you roast them. But I love my eggplant. And these are my bunching onions we planted together, and they have gone to seed. So those might be coming out, and I think I'm gonna try to save the seed, see what happens. And less than satisfactory, my calendula looks kind of scraggly, and the flowers, I don't know, I got a few nice flowers, but they were covered with aphids, which is kind of good for the rest of the bed, but they don't look very nice. I'm not sure I'll grow calendula again, and they don't seem to like this extreme heat. So that's one I probably won't grow again. And another thing that did not do well is the nasturtiums. They're not doing well at all in my bed. So that's another one I will not grow. I have some lavender under here, and one last borage plant that's hanging on. I wanted the seeds to ripen, so that's just one last sprig of it. Oh, these might be pom-pom dahlias. Look how pretty these are. I hope that color comes across. It's a buttery yellow. Beautiful. So that is a beauty. I think that's a pom-pom. And here's a nasturtium bloom, looking kind of weak. So again, I'm gonna just avoid planting those next year. And then I did put some squash seeds in the middle where the borage came out. Just tucked a couple seeds in, and we'll see if they come up. They're just here and here. I figure they could at least fill the bed, and if they don't make squash, at least they're providing a living mulch. And I've got my cream sausage tomatoes here. They have been the first tomatoes that have come to be ripe. Looks like this one might be ripe. I thought they were gonna be white, but they're a bit of a yellow. So we'll see. I might leave that on a little longer and see if it lightens up. But we've got some sprays of tomatoes. Not exactly prolific, but since it's my only one that's making tomatoes right now, let's give it a round of applause. And then over here I have a beautiful dahlia. And I think this is called the Soul Man dahlia. It's kind of small, but it is a beautiful color. So I do like that. So maybe it'll get a little more vigorous later on. I do have a sweet potato vine that's taken off around the corner here, and that will provide some nice shade. I don't know if it will provide sweet potatoes, but it was from a red garnet potato that I rooted early spring. And then my poor beefsteak tomatoes, I think most of the buds got knocked off in some of my torrential rain, although I do see a little, maybe up here. Let me see if I can get in to show you. It's almost so small that you can't see it, but I think right there we may have some fruit forming. But I think all of the blooms got knocked off in that heavy rain, so I'll have to wait on those for some later tomatoes, I hope. And then over here I have my stevia, which I haven't used yet at all. And I have a wild peach tree, which needs some pruning, and that was a peach tree from a pit. So we'll see if I ever get any fruit from that, but it's kind of a thrill to see it's already grown 3 feet halfway through the season. So I'll give it a little prune, maybe when it's not so hot. But guys, that's the update, the heat wave update of the polytunnel bed. Obviously some things need to come out, and I'm hoping my squash fill in. They're winter squash. I think I planted butternut, so we'll see if those come about. So it's a bit of a cottagey mess, mix of veggies and flowers. They all got a good deep watering before the 100-degree temperatures roll in an hour or so. And we'll be up near 100 for several days. One thing that has gone absolutely wild in the garden with this heat are the squash plants. They're starting to climb the trellis. They're going up the hill on that side, and they are just enjoying this heat. So I've got center cut squash in here, which is a summer squash, a Trombosino style squash that is a pest resistant variety. And I have butternut maybe somewhere in here, and spaghetti squash. So we'll see what we end up with. It's all got to pollinate itself because I can't bend over to do it. But we'll see what nature provides, and apparently it likes all the water it received and all of this heat rolling in. But I'll be happier when it goes to the low 90s, upper 80s. I prefer that. The gardener prefers that. So thanks so much for watching, guys. There's a little update. And I hope you're keeping cool in your garden.